The crystal towers of Zephyria sparkled under 3 purple suns, their light dancing across the polished walls of the throne room. Empress Velnara sat on her carved seat of living crystal, her blue-silver skin glowing softly in the strange light. Her large, dark eyes watched as her generals reported the latest defeats. "Another system lost, Your Majesty," General Kethmore said, his voice heavy with shame. "The machines came from nowhere. They destroyed everything." Velnara closed her eyes and felt the pain of her people through their mental link. Millions of voices cried out across space as the synthesis machines ate their worlds, turning living planets into metal and circuits. For 3 years, these horrible machines had been winning. Her beautiful empire was dying. "How many ships do we have left?" she asked quietly. 400, Majesty. Maybe less. Once she had commanded over 3,000 vessels. Now her mighty fleet was broken, scattered across the stars like dust. The throne room doors burst open with a crash that made everyone jump. Palace guards dragged in a strange creature covered in blood and dirt. It walked on 2 legs like a Zephyrian, but its skin was a dark pink color and its hair was black. Strange clothes covered its body, rough fabric instead of the flowing robes her people wore. "What is this thing?" General Kethmore demanded. "We found it in a crashed ship, sir," one guard said. "The ship was unlike anything we've seen. This creature was the only one alive inside." The strange being raised its head. Its eyes were brown like dirt, not the large black eyes of her people. When it spoke, the words were harsh and ugly, nothing like the musical language of Zephyria. "English," it said, then tried again in broken Zephyrian. "I can speak your word, little." Velnara leaned forward. Something strange was happening inside her mind. A warm feeling was growing in her chest, like a fire starting to burn. She had felt nothing like this for over 100 years. "What are you?" she asked in perfect English, surprising everyone, including herself. She had never learned this language. The creature's eyes went wide. "You speak English? Thank God. I'm Commander Marcus Chen, human, from Earth. I carry important information about the machines you're fighting." The moment he said his name, the fire in Velnara's chest exploded into something much bigger. Her mind suddenly connected to his, and she saw flashes of his memories. A blue and green world called Earth, huge ships made of metal and fire. The terrible moment when the synthesis machines found his people and began destroying everything. Without thinking, she whispered in the old language of her people, Karthul. The entire throne room went silent. Every Zephyrian present stared at her with shock and fear. Karthul was an ancient word that meant bondmate, or the other half of one's soul. It was something that happened maybe once in 1,000 years, when 2 Zephyrian minds joined forever. But this creature wasn't Zephyrian. This was impossible. Marcus felt something too. A warm feeling spread through his tired body, and suddenly he could sense her emotions, her sadness, her fear, and underneath it all, a deep loneliness that matched his own. "What did you just say?" he asked softly. Before Velnara could answer, General Kethmore stepped forward, his face angry. "Majesty, this is clearly some kind of trick. This alien creature is probably a spy sent by the synthesis. It should be executed immediately." "No." The word came out stronger than Velnara intended. "He stays. He has information we need." Marcus struggled to his feet, ignoring the pain in his injured leg. "The machines, the synthesis, they're not what you think. I've studied their patterns. They have a weakness, but you have to trust me." "Trust you?" Kethmore laughed coldly. "You're not even from our galaxy. Why should we trust anything you say?" Marcus looked directly at Velnara. "Because in 12 hours they're going to attack your moon base on Velthara. They always hit the smaller targets first to test defenses. Then they'll come here." The room erupted in angry voices. Some generals demanded to know how he could possibly know this. Others insisted he was lying. But Velnara felt through their strange connection that he was telling the truth. "How do you know this?" she asked. Marcus pulled a small device from his torn uniform. "This contains battle records from 17 human colonies. I've seen this exact pattern before. The synthesis doesn't just attack randomly. They follow rules. They test, then they strike. And they're testing you right now." General Kethmore grabbed the device before Marcus could stop him. "This could be anything. Majesty, this creature is dangerous. The very fact that you said what you said proves it's affecting your mind somehow." Velnara stood up slowly. The strange connection to Marcus was getting stronger, not weaker. Through it, she could feel his memories of loss, watching his homeworld burn, losing his entire crew, jumping blindly through space just hoping to find help. "Show me," she said to Marcus. "Show me these patterns you speak of." Marcus nodded and activated a holographic display. The device projected images of star maps and battle data into the air. "Here, look." The synthesis always hits mining operations first, then communication arrays. Then they take out the biggest military bases. Finally, they go for the population centers. As he spoke, Velnara saw the truth of it. Every attack on her empire had followed this same pattern. But none of her generals had noticed because they thought like Zephyrians, looking for beauty and order in war. This human thought differently. He saw the machine logic underneath. "Your moon base has mining operations," Marcus continued. "They'll hit it in 12 hours to see how fast your response is. If I'm wrong, you can execute me. If I'm right," he looked directly into her eyes, "if I'm right, maybe we can work together to stop them." The connection between them pulsed stronger. Velnara could feel his determination, his desperate hope that maybe, finally, someone would listen to him. "Majesty," General Kethmore said urgently, "even if this creature speaks truth, we cannot trust it. The bond you've formed with it is unnatural. It goes against everything we are, does it?" Velnara asked quietly. She had ruled for 2 centuries and never felt anything like this bond. It wasn't just attraction or friendship. It was like finding a missing piece of herself she never knew was lost. Or does it go against everything we thought we knew? Marcus stepped closer and the guards raised their weapons, but Velnara held up her hand to stop them. "Your Majesty," Marcus said softly, "I don't understand what's happening between us either, but I do know that alone both our peoples are going to die. The synthesis is too strong, too smart. But together we might have a chance." Through their connection, Velnara felt the weight of his words. She saw in his memories how humans fought. Not with elegant formations and perfect timing like her people, but with chaos and stubbornness and a refusal to give up even when everything was hopeless. Maybe that was exactly what her dying empire needed. "We will test your prediction," she announced to the shocked court. "If the moon base is attacked as you say, we will listen to your plans. If not..." She let the threat hang in the air. Marcus nodded grimly. 12 hours, Your Majesty. Then you'll see that sometimes the best way to fight machines is to stop thinking like one." As the guards led him away to a holding cell, Velnara touched her chest where the bond burned bright and warm. Whatever was happening to her, there was no going back now. Marcus sat in his cell, staring at the walls made of some kind of living crystal that glowed softly in the darkness. Every few minutes, the strange warmth in his chest would pulse and he could feel her, the Empress somewhere in the palace above. Her emotions flowed through him like water, worry, confusion, and underneath it all, a loneliness so deep it made his own pain seem small. He had never believed in fate or destiny. He was a soldier trained to deal with facts and tactics, but whatever was happening between him and Velnara felt bigger than anything he could explain with science. 11 hours had passed since his prediction. In 1 hour, if he was right, the synthesis would attack the moon base. If he was wrong, he would probably die. But through their connection, he could sense that Velnara was already starting to believe him. The cell door opened with a soft chime. Instead of guards, the Empress herself walked in, followed by 2 of her advisors. Marcus stood up quickly, surprised by the visit. "Your Majesty," he said, giving a small bow. "Sit," she said softly. "We need to talk." Velnara looked tired. Her silver-blue skin seemed paler than before, and her large dark eyes showed the strain of command. She sat on a chair that grew from the floor at her silent command, while her advisors remained standing. "My people are afraid," she said directly. "They think you have cast some kind of spell on me. They want me to execute you immediately." Marcus felt her emotional turmoil through their bond. She was fighting her own instincts and the demands of her court. "And what do you think?" "I think," she said slowly, "that for the first time in a century I don't feel alone. And that terrifies me more than the synthesis machines." One of her advisors, an elderly Zephyrian with elaborate robes, stepped forward. "Majesty, this connection is unnatural. In all our history, bonds have only formed between our own kind. This creature must be using some kind of technology to influence your mind." "Dr. Telvash," Velnara said patiently, "you've scanned both of us 3 times. What did you find?" The doctor's expression was troubled. "No technology, Majesty. No drugs or mental manipulation devices. The bond appears to be genuine. But that should be impossible. Marcus looked between them. Maybe impossible is exactly what we need right now. The second advisor, a younger female with warrior markings on her arms, spoke up angrily. You speak as if you understand us, alien. You've been here less than 1 day. What could you possibly know about our ways? I know you're losing, Marcus said simply. I know you've been fighting the same way for 3 years and getting the same results. I know that in 45 minutes, if I'm right, everything changes. And if I'm wrong, you can kill me and go back to losing the way you always have. Velnara winced as his frustration flowed through their connection, but she also felt something else. His absolute certainty that the attack was coming and his desperate hope that she would listen to him. Tell me about your people, she said quietly. Help me understand what I'm feeling through this bond. Marcus leaned back against the crystal wall. Humans aren't like you. We're not elegant or graceful or naturally gifted with mental powers. We're messy and stubborn and we make a lot of mistakes. But we have one skill that's kept us alive for thousands of years, which is, we adapt. When something doesn't work, we try something else. When we're outmatched, we change the rules. When we're supposed to lose, we refuse to accept it. He looked directly at her. The synthesis thinks like your people do, looking for patterns and perfect solutions. But humans learned long ago that chaos can be a weapon too. Through their bond, Velnara saw flashes of human history. Wars fought with primitive weapons against impossible odds, tiny ships attacking massive fleets, soldiers holding positions they couldn't possibly defend just because someone asked them to. Your species fights without hope, she said, amazed. No, Marcus corrected. We fight because of hope. Even when we can't see a way to win, we hope that trying will be enough. And sometimes it is. Dr. Telvash made a dismissive sound. Primitive thinking. War requires strategy, not wishful thinking. Does it? Marcus asked. How's your strategy working so far? The insult hung in the air. The younger advisor's hand moved to her weapon, but Velnara raised her hand for calm. Show me, she said to Marcus. Through this connection we share, show me how humans fight. Marcus closed his eyes and let his memories flow through the bond. Velnara gasped as images flooded her mind. She saw human commanders making impossible decisions in seconds, ships diving into enemy formations just to create confusion, soldiers fighting hand-to-hand with machines 10 times their size. But she also saw the results. Time after time, human forces that should have been destroyed managed to accomplish their missions through pure determination and creative thinking. I see, she whispered. Then louder, I understand. Majesty? Dr. Telvash asked nervously. Before she could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the palace. A communication crystal flared to life, showing the image of a panicked officer. Your Majesty, the moon base is under attack. Synthesis ships appeared from nowhere. They're destroying the mining operations. The room went silent except for the distant sound of alarms. Marcus had been exactly right. Velnara stood slowly, her expression changing from confusion to determination. Dr. Telvash, contact the fleet commanders. Tell them to prepare for new tactics. We're going to try something different. Majesty, the young advisor said urgently. Surely you're not going to trust this alien with our military strategy. No, Velnara said firmly. I'm going to trust my bondmate with our survival. The word hung in the air like a challenge. By using the formal term, she was officially acknowledging the connection between them. Her advisors looked shocked, but they couldn't argue with the fact that Marcus had predicted the attack perfectly. Marcus felt a rush of emotion through their link, gratitude, determination, and something deeper that made his chest tight. What do you need me to do? First, we save the moon base. Then you teach us how to fight like humans. She turned to her advisors. Whether you understand this bond or not, it exists. And right now, it might be the only advantage we have. Dr. Telvash bowed reluctantly. What are your orders, Majesty? Release the human and give him access to our tactical systems. If he can predict their attacks, maybe he can help us stop them. She looked at Marcus with those large dark eyes. But understand this, if you betray that trust, bond or no bond, I will kill you myself. Marcus stood and gave her a formal salute. Understood, Your Majesty. Let's go save your people. As they left the cell together, the bond between them pulsed with shared purpose. For the first time since the war began, Velnara felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. But in the depths of space, the synthesis machines were already calculating their next move. The attack on the moon base was just the beginning. Soon they would test the defenses of Zephyria itself, and when they came, they would find something they had never encountered before: the chaotic, unpredictable fury of human tactical thinking, guided by the elegant psychic coordination of the Zephyrian Empire. The war was about to change completely. The command center buzzed with activity as Marcus studied the tactical displays. Holographic images showed the moon base battle in real time. Synthesis machines systematically destroying the mining platforms while Zephyrian ships tried to respond with their traditional formation attacks. They're not even trying to fight back efficiently, Marcus muttered, watching the elegant but predictable movements of the defending fleet. They're just following the same patterns. Velnara stood beside him, her hand resting on his shoulder. Through their bond, she could feel his tactical mind working like a machine, seeing possibilities her people missed. "What would you do differently?" she asked. "Everything." Marcus pointed at the display. "Your ships move like dancers, beautiful, coordinated, perfect. The synthesis can predict every move because you're too organized." General Kethmore scowled from across the room. "Organization wins wars, human. Chaos leads to defeat." "Not always," Marcus said, his fingers dancing over the control interface. Through the bond, Velnara felt his memories of human victories. Small, desperate actions that had somehow changed the course of entire battles. "Show me," she said softly. Marcus began issuing orders through the communication system, his broken Zephyrian mixed with English. But Velnara translated, and slowly, the moon-based defense began to change. Instead of maintaining formation, individual ships broke away and attacked from random angles. Instead of focusing fire on the largest targets, they hit small, seemingly unimportant systems. Instead of trying to protect everything, they abandoned the outer mining platforms and focused on saving the people. "This is madness," General Kethmore protested. "We're giving up valuable resources." "We're saving lives," Velnara replied firmly. Through the bond, she understood Marcus's thinking. Resources could be replaced. People couldn't. The synthesis machines, designed to fight predictable enemies, began making errors. They kept expecting coordinated attacks that never came. Their formations, perfect for fighting organized fleets, became liabilities against ships that refused to follow any logical pattern. "It's working," breathed Dr. Telvash, staring at the displays. "The machines are actually retreating." But Marcus's expression was grim. "This is just the beginning. They'll learn from this and adapt. Next time will be harder." Before anyone could respond, new alarms filled the command center. A massive synthesis fleet was approaching Zephyria itself, over 200 ships, including some of the largest machines anyone had ever seen. "How long until they arrive?" Velnara asked. 4 hours, Majesty," came the reply from the sensor operator. Marcus closed his eyes, and through the bond, Velnara felt him calculating odds and possibilities. What she saw in his mind terrified her. Even with their new tactics, the approaching fleet was too large. They would lose. "There has to be something," she said quietly, "meant only for him." Marcus opened his eyes and looked at her. "There is, but you're not going to like it. Tell me, we need to link our minds completely during the battle, not just the emotional connection we have now, but full tactical integration. You coordinate your people's psychic abilities while I provide the chaotic thinking patterns they can't predict." Dr. Telvash had been listening. "Absolutely not. A full mental link with an alien could destroy Her Majesty's mind, or it could save everyone," Marcus said simply. Through their bond, Velnara felt his certainty. He wasn't suggesting this lightly. He had seen something in the approaching battle data that convinced him this was their only chance. "What would happen to us?" she asked. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. Maybe nothing. Maybe we both die. Maybe we become something new." He met her eyes. "But I know that without it, your empire falls today." The command center erupted in argument as her advisors and generals debated. But Velnara barely heard them. Through the bond, she was experiencing Marcus's memories of Earth's final battle, how the synthesis had overwhelmed every defense, how his people had fought and died while he escaped with their tactical data. She felt his guilt at being the only survivor, his desperation to make their sacrifice mean something. And underneath it all, she felt his growing feelings for her. Not just the bond, but genuine care for her as a person. "I need to think," she announced, cutting through the arguments. Everyone except Marcus, leave us. When they were alone, she turned to face him fully. If we do this, there's no going back, is there? Probably not, he admitted. Velnara, I have to be honest with you. I don't know what I'm asking. On Earth, we had legends about mind links, but nothing like what you can do. This could change both of us permanently. She touched his face gently, feeling the strange texture of his alien skin. Marcus, I've ruled for 2 centuries. I've made thousands of decisions, fought dozens of wars, and I've never felt what I feel with you. Maybe that's worth the risk. Before he could respond, she pressed her forehead to his and opened her mind completely. The sensation was overwhelming. Suddenly, Marcus could feel every Zephyrian mind in the star system, thousands of voices singing in psychic harmony. And Velnara experienced human consciousness for the first time. Chaotic, emotional, unpredictable, but incredibly strong. Their separate thoughts began to merge and blend. Marcus's tactical knowledge combined with Velnara's psychic coordination abilities. Her elegant strategic thinking mixed with his improvised combat experience. When they finally separated, both of them were changed. Marcus could sense the psychic network of her people, while Velnara had gained his ability to see patterns in chaos. How do you feel? He asked. Different, stronger. She paused. Complete. The command center doors burst open as General Kethmore rushed in. Majesty, the synthesis fleet is accelerating. They'll be here in 2 hours, not 4. Velnara and Marcus looked at each other and smiled. Through their enhanced connection, they had already sensed the change and formulated a response. Good, Velnara said, surprising everyone. We're ready for them. Ready? General Kethmore looked confused. Majesty, they outnumber us 5-1. Numbers don't matter when the enemy can't predict what you're going to do, Marcus said. His voice was different now, still human, but with a strange musical quality that reminded everyone of Zephyrian speech. Velnara's voice had changed too, gaining some of the harsh directness of human communication. General, prepare the fleet for battle, but not the way we've ever fought before. Over the next 2 hours, they transformed the Zephyrian military into something unprecedented. Ships that had always moved in perfect formation learned to fight independently. Psychic coordination that had always focused on order began incorporating controlled chaos. Elegant battle plans gave way to improvised tactics that changed moment by moment. When the synthesis fleet arrived, expecting to fight the same organized enemy they had defeated repeatedly, they found something impossible. An army that fought like both machine and living being, coordinated and chaotic, predictable and random all at once. The battle that followed would be remembered as the turning point of the war. For the first time, the synthesis faced an enemy they couldn't understand or counter. And at the center of it all, 2 minds that had become one guided the defense of Zephyria, with a combination of human determination and alien grace that neither species could have achieved alone. 3 weeks after the victory at Zephyria, everything had changed. The impossible success against the synthesis had spread hope throughout the Empire, but it had also created new problems. Velnara stood in her private chambers watching the sunrise through the crystal walls, feeling the weight of both triumph and crisis on her shoulders. Through her enhanced connection with Marcus, she could sense his presence in the war room below, working with her generals to plan the next phase of their campaign. But she could also feel the growing tension throughout the palace. Her people were divided. The door chimed softly and Dr. Telvash entered, his expression grave. The Council of Houses has made their decision. Majesty, he said without preamble. Velnara didn't turn from the window. And? They demand you choose between the throne and the human. They say the bond has corrupted you, made you unfit to rule pure Zephyrians. A spike of anger flowed through her connection with Marcus, and she knew he had heard. The bond had grown stronger since their full mental link, allowing them to share thoughts and emotions across great distances. How many houses support them? She asked. 17 of the 30 major houses. Led by Lord Kethvar, they call themselves the Purest Coalition. They claim you've been contaminated by alien influence. Velnara finally turned to face him. Her appearance had changed subtly since the bond deepened. Her silver-blue skin had darker patterns now, and her large black eyes sometimes showed flecks of brown, like Marcus's eyes. The changes were small but noticeable to anyone who looked closely. And what do the other 13 houses say? They remain loyal to you, Majesty. But they're worried. Some of their younger members have begun forming bonds with humans from Commander Chen's ship records. The phenomenon is spreading. This was news to Velnara. Spreading? 5 confirmed cases so far. Young Zephyrians who have studied human tactical methods are developing emotional connections to human concepts, even without meeting humans directly. And there are reports of humans in the outer colonies developing psychic sensitivity after extended contact with our people. Through the bond, Velnara felt Marcus's surprise and curiosity. This was bigger than just their personal connection. Something fundamental was happening to both species. "What does Lord Kethavar propose?" she asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Public trial of the human for corruption of the royal bloodline. If found guilty, execution. If you refuse..." Telvash hesitated. "If I refuse. Civil war. They've already begun moving their fleets into position." Velnara closed her eyes and reached out through the bond. Marcus's response was immediate and fierce. He would face trial, face execution, before he would let her people destroy themselves in civil war. "No," she said aloud, responding to both the doctor and her bondmate. "There has to be another way." "Majesty," Telvash said gently, "perhaps it would be better to end this before more damage is done. The human has served his purpose. The tactical knowledge he provided has already changed our military effectiveness. You could honor his sacrifice and..." "Doctor," Velnara interrupted, her voice carrying a new edge that reminded him of human directness. "You will not suggest I sacrifice my bondmate for political convenience." Before Telvash could respond, the door burst open. General Kethmore rushed in, his face pale with urgency. "Majesty! Long-range sensors have detected massive synthesis movement. They're massing fleets at 17 different locations across our border. It looks like they're preparing for a coordinated assault on all our remaining systems simultaneously." The enormity of it hit everyone at once. If the synthesis attacked everywhere at once, even their new tactics wouldn't be enough. They would need every ship, every warrior, every resource working in perfect coordination. "How long do we have?" Velnara asked. 6 days, possibly 7. Through the bond, she felt Marcus's tactical mind already working on the problem. But she also felt his frustration. This wasn't a battle they could win with just Zephyrian forces, no matter how well adapted their tactics had become. "We need reinforcements," she said, voicing what they were both thinking. "From where, Majesty?" Kethmore asked. "This is our entire military force. There is no one else." "Yes, there is," Marcus said as he entered the room. His appearance had changed too. His brown eyes now had flecks of silver, and his movements had gained some of the flowing grace of Zephyrian motion. "My people." Kethmore looked confused. "You said your species was defeated. Your world's destroyed. Our worlds, yes, but not our people." Marcus activated a holographic display showing star charts. "There are refugee fleets scattered across this galaxy. Mining colonies that weren't worth the synthesis's time. Deep space stations that went dark when the attack started. If we can find them, coordinate them." "How many?" Velnara asked, hope building in her chest. "Maybe 50,000 survivors in total, spread across 100 different locations. Not much compared to your empire, but human ships are built for different kinds of warfare." Dr. Telvash shook his head. "This is impossible. We can't coordinate with scattered refugees while fighting a civil war and preparing for the largest synthesis assault in history. There isn't time." "There is if we're willing to pay the price," Velnara said quietly. Everyone looked at her, and through the bond, Marcus understood what she was thinking. "No," he said firmly. "It's too dangerous." "What are you talking about?" Kethmore demanded. Velnara looked at each of them in turn. "A galaxy-wide psychic network. Every Zephyrian mind linked to mine, and through our bond, connected to human tactical thinking. We could coordinate everything simultaneously. Our forces, their refugees, even civilian populations. That's never been attempted," Telvash said, horrified. "The mental strain could kill you. Both of you. And if we don't try, the synthesis kills everyone anyway," Marcus pointed out. General Kethmore was staring at the tactical displays. "Could it work?" "In theory," Velnara said, "but it would require absolute trust from both species. Every Zephyrian would have to accept human influence in their minds. Every human would have to trust alien psychic contact. The purest coalition will never accept it," Kethmore said grimly. "Then we make them a different choice," Marcus said. his voice taking on the musical quality it had gained since the bond deepened. Face trial for saving the galaxy, or watch the galaxy die to preserve their purity. Through their connection, Velnara felt his determination. He was willing to gamble everything on the hope that faced with total destruction, both species would choose survival over prejudice. "Send a message to Lord Kethvar," she ordered. "Tell him I accept his demand for a public trial. But the trial will take place during the battle for our galaxy's survival. If we live through it, we'll face whatever judgment our people decide. If we die, the question becomes irrelevant." "And the human refugees?" Kethmore asked. Marcus was already moving to the communication systems. "Leave that to me. If there's one thing humans are good at, it's responding to desperate calls for help." As the others left to make preparations, Velnara and Marcus stood alone in the chamber. Through their bond, they shared the same thought. In 6 days, they would either save 2 civilizations or die trying. "No regrets?" she asked softly. Marcus took her hand, marveling again at how perfectly their alien fingers fit together. "With you? Never." Outside, the purple suns were setting, and in the darkness between the stars, both hope and destruction were racing toward the same inevitable confrontation. The great crystal amphitheater had never seen anything like this. Thousands of Zephyrians filled the carved seats, while holographic displays showed the approaching synthesis fleets. At the center, Velnara and Marcus stood before Lord Kethvar and the Purist Coalition, with the survival of 2 civilizations hanging in the balance. "You stand accused of corrupting the royal bloodline and contaminating our species," Lord Kethvar announced, his voice carrying across the amphitheater. "How do you answer?" Marcus stepped forward, his changed appearance drawing murmurs from the crowd. "I answer that in 2 hours the synthesis will destroy everything you're trying to protect. Your purity, your traditions, your people, all of it will be gone unless we act together." "Better to die pure than live corrupted," Kethvar replied coldly. Through their bond, Velnara felt Marcus's flash of anger, but also his growing understanding of her people. "You think I've corrupted your Empress? Look at what we've accomplished together." The displays around the amphitheater changed, showing the tactical victories of the past month. But more importantly, they showed the human refugee fleets that had answered Marcus's call. 53 ships from 12 different colonies, all converging on Zephyrian space at maximum speed. "These are my people," Marcus continued. "Miners, traders, scientists, ordinary humans who've lost everything to the synthesis. They're coming here not because I ordered them to, but because they hope. They hope that together, we can accomplish what neither of our species could do alone." Admiral Sarah Khan's image appeared on the main display. Her battered face showed the strain of months in space, but her voice was strong. "All human vessels, this is Admiral Khan. We've got 90 minutes to reach the Zephyrian lines. I know you're tired, I know you're scared, but these people have offered us a chance to fight back. Let's make it count." In the amphitheater, even some of the Purist Coalition looked moved by the human admiral's words, but Kethvar remained unmoved. "Noble sentiments from a dying species, but you haven't answered the central charge. You have fundamentally altered our Empress, changed her very nature. Look at her." All eyes turned to Velnara. Her transformation had accelerated over the past week. The silver blue of her skin now held patterns of darker blue and bronze. Her large black eyes sparkled with brown and gold flecks. When she moved, it was with a mixture of Zephyrian grace and human determination. "Yes," she said, her voice carrying new harmonics that blended both languages. "I have changed, and so has he." She gestured to Marcus, whose brown eyes now held silver threads and whose movements had gained alien fluidity. "We've become something new, something neither pure human nor pure Zephyrian." "Exactly," Kethvar said triumphantly. "You admit your corruption?" "I admit our evolution," Velnara replied. Through the amphitheater's psychic network, everyone could feel her absolute certainty. "Do you know what I've learned from human consciousness? That change isn't corruption, it's survival. Species that refuse to adapt die." The synthesis fleet positions updated on the displays. 60 minutes to contact. Dr. Telvash rose from his seat. "Majesty, the neural link preparations are complete. But if we're going to attempt the galaxy-wide network, we need to start now." Kethvar looked between the approaching doom on the displays and the transformed leaders before him. "You would risk both your lives on this insane plan?" "We would risk everything to save everyone," Marcus said simply. Before Kethvar could respond, a new voice cut through the amphitheater. It was young Zephyrian, one of the 5 who had spontaneously bonded with human concepts. Lord Kethvar, permission to speak? The purist leader looked annoyed but nodded. My name is Velthara. 3 weeks ago, I was a communications officer who dreamed of perfect order and elegant solutions. Then I studied human tactical methods and felt something I'd never experienced. The wild joy of improvisation, the fierce hope that refuses to accept defeat. Her voice grew stronger. I'm not corrupted. I'm enhanced. And if that means I'm no longer pure Zephyrian, then maybe purity isn't worth preserving. One by one, other young Zephyrians stood up around the amphitheater. Some showed visible signs of change, altered skin patterns, differently colored eyes. Others looked the same but radiated the emotional complexity that came from contact with human thinking. We volunteer, one said. For the network, added another. For our future, said a third. On the displays, Admiral Khan's voice crackled through space. All human vessels. The Zephyrians are extending psychic contact. It's incredible. I can feel their coordination, their unity. If we can add our tactical flexibility to their perfect timing. 30 minutes to contact, announced the sensor operator. Kethvar looked around the amphitheater at the faces of his people. He saw fear, yes, but also hope. And underneath it all, the growing realization that their choice was not between purity and corruption. It was between evolution and extinction. If we do this, he said slowly, and you survive, what happens next? Do you expect us to accept this new, hybrid leadership permanently? Velnara and Marcus exchanged a look through their bond that spoke volumes. We expect you to judge us by our results, Velnara said. If we save our civilizations, then you'll know change can be good. If we fail, Marcus finished, there won't be anyone left to judge. The displays showed synthesis ships dropping out of hyperspace at 17 different locations. The attack had begun. I need a decision, Lord Kethvar, Velnara said urgently. Will your ships fight alongside the humans in the network, or will you preserve your purity while everyone dies? Kethvar was quiet for a long moment, staring at the tactical displays. Then he looked at the young Zephyrians who had volunteered, at the human refugees racing to help defend an alien empire, and finally at the transformed leaders who represented something unprecedented in galactic history. Admiral Kethvar, he said into his communicator, integrate our forces with the hybrid network. All ships are to accept human tactical input through the Empress's psychic link. My lord, came the confused reply. We're about to find out if evolution is stronger than extinction, Kethvar said grimly. Velnara and Marcus moved to the center of the amphitheater where the neural interface had been prepared. As they joined hands, their bond flared with power that rippled through every Zephyrian mind in the star system. Are you ready? She asked. With you? Always, he replied. Together they opened their minds to the galaxy. The psychic network exploded outward at light speed, connecting every Zephyrian consciousness to their hybrid bond, and through it, to the tactical awareness of 53 human refugee ships. For the first time in galactic history, 2 species fought as one. The synthesis had expected to face predictable Zephyrian coordination or chaotic human improvisation. Instead, they encountered something impossible, perfect unity expressing itself through controlled chaos. Ships that moved in elegant formation but struck from unexpected angles, coordinated assaults that changed targets and tactics mid-battle, defense networks that adapted faster than the synthesis could analyze them. The battle raged across 17 star systems simultaneously, but it was controlled from the crystal amphitheater on Zephyria, where 2 transformed beings held their civilizations together with nothing but trust and love. When it was over, when the synthesis retreated for the first time in their recorded history, the galaxy had changed forever. The rigid barriers between species had begun to dissolve, replaced by something new. The recognition that strength came not from purity, but from the courage to become more than what you were. In the amphitheater, as Velnara and Marcus slowly returned to individual consciousness, they found themselves surrounded by both human and Zephyrian faces, different species, but united in wonder at what they had accomplished together. So, Kethvar said quietly, what do we call this new government, this hybrid leadership? Velnara looked at Marcus, and through their bond, they shared the same thought. We call it the future, she said simply, and somewhere in the space between the stars, The next chapter of galactic civilization began to write itself.